Today, I will be speaking to you about bars. More specifically, prison bars. The bars that lead to it, the bars that sustain it, and the untold, unrelenting bars that follow. I was 18 years old when I spent my first night behind bars. Growing up the youngest of 3 children in a poor, Black, single-parent household in East Atlanta, in retrospect, and statistically speaking, I suppose this was no surprise. 3 days after high school was released for the summer, in what should have been my senior year, I was the getaway driver during 3 pedestrian robberies. I was criminally charged, and after almost 3 years of being released on bond, pleaded out to a sentence of 15 years with 7 years to serve. However, the road that led me to the Fulton County Superior Courthouse began long before my plea hearing. My mother, who without support at the age of 40, enrolled in college as a non-traditional student, often had no choice but to bring her 3 young children to class alongside her. And although as a child, I often attended the classes of my mother, as a wayward adolescent, I seldom attended my own. For me, school consisted of skipping class, wandering the halls, and scoring seconds on free lunch. School was a social contest, where the winners had the newest shoes and biggest wads of questionably earned cash, while the losers likely had the best GPAs and brightest futures. The bars of a broken value system. Coming from a place where the vast majority of your peers do not pursue post-secondary education, while those who do are unlikely to finish, and you are more likely to have a friend with a criminal record than a college degree, it is hard to aim for what you cannot see. Having dropped out of high school at the age of 17, doing well in school, thoughts of college, these things were not a priority for me. They were not a priority for us. The greatest desire of my still maturing adolescent brain was attempting to fit in, not being made fun of for my hand-me-down clothes, and doing whatever may have seemed necessary to keep from being labeled as lame. This soon all came to an end. My severe lack of judgment landed me on the wrong side of the judicial system, and I found myself behind bars. For the first time in my life, incarcerated, I began to read. Anything I could find and everything I could learn. History, science, philosophy, mythology, biographies. Eventually, I yearned to study something more tangible, something I could use and feel. With a tattered dictionary, worn-out workbook, and homemade flashcards, I began to study Spanish. I studied Spanish for hours on end, every day. And at nighttime, when the prison staff turned off the lights, I would go to the bathroom area, the only place that remained lit, and continue to study there. With few resources and minimal tools, the bar set before me was high. After 8 months, I was fluent in Spanish. With my newfound proficiency, I volunteered in the educational department, teaching ESL, English as a Second Language, to fellow inmates, many of whom struggled to read in their own languages. And although I was not confined by them, I could only imagine the bars imposed by adult illiteracy in the 21st century. I was soon sought out by the prison counseling staff to be the institutional interpreter, and later served as the personal orderly of the prison warden, the most trusted position in the institution, delegated to one of 1,600. After serving 6 years, I was released from the visible bars of prison, only to discover the invisible bars of the free world. 27 years old, with a fresh criminal record, mounting community supervision fees, and no current work experience, I began to search for employment. Repeatedly, I would submit applications, be told what an ideal fit I was, even to the point of being hired on the spot, only to then be rejected as a result of my record, the bars of a felony conviction. When legislative bars leave you without the recourse necessary to clear the scarlet letter of criminality from your name, and occupational bars reduce you to minimum wages and menial employment, while simultaneously you are redlined into hyper-criminalized neighborhoods and ghettos because you are a felon, scourged and branded, and no reputable residential complex will house you. And no matter how hard you work, nor how hard you try, you live every day in the dark shadow of your past, never knowing what rejection, closed door, or foregone opportunity you will encounter next. You soon realize that you have been freed from lockup, only to be locked out. I would like to think that I have escaped my bars, but I have not. My next bar will likely be admission to the bar itself, the New York State Bar. Equally, while I do not consider myself lucky, I will be the first to admit to you that in many ways I have been very fortunate. I had a family and friends who cared about me, and many people along the way who, for no reason other than their own, invested in me, afforded me opportunities, and wanted to see me win. Unfortunately, I am an outlier. The vast majority of my peers remain locked in a cycle of visible and invisible bars. Others, such as my good friend Anthony Brewer, are no longer in the cycle. He was murdered, shot 8 times, 1 week after being released from the county jail, in the same neighborhood he was repeatedly arrested in and released to. In a world where a felony conviction results in a perpetual, punitive imposition of debt, in which retribution can never be paid, and you are left in a permanent and unabating state of exclusion, every sentence becomes a life sentence, and you are locked in or locked out on the wrong side of bars. Thank you.